In this video, I want to work on probably well, not necessarily the last, because I also want to set up the, what do you call it? The key code, or the keypad for unlocking doors and such for other added puzzles. I also want to add one more simple one, and that's going to be a kind of like a trigger box. So I want this to be kind of based upon weight, so whenever enough weight is inside of the trigger box, it will kind of dictate the door's open and closed rotation. So, for example, let's say I walk over the trigger box, the door is going to open slightly, I drop something else on the trigger box, the door is going to open a little more, I take it away, the door is going to gradually close, so on. So to do this, we're going to create a new class, and it's not going to be actors. I want to create this as a, what is it, box component? Trigger box, I think? Yeah, trigger box component. Or do I want to do something else? I might do an actor. I'm having a hard time actually thinking. Okay, so I want to do, let's see, we'll do an actor that will have a box component in it. Yeah, let's go that route. So we're gonna have an actor so that way we can have a mesh if we want to. And let's name this one trigger. Well, weight trigger, I guess, is a okay name. Put under public, put under actors. So it'll be in this folder, and create the class. So, difficult decision. Anyhow, let's go ahead and wait for it to be complete. So we can public actors. What the? Ah, dang it. I messed that up. Let me go fix it. All right, there we go. Wait trigger.h and .cpp. For the time being, I'm going to close down the interactable interface, all the doors and such, and I'll leave item open for the time being and open up the header as well, because it involves items. So we have our trigger, obviously. As always, we remove the tick, set it to false. What we want to do is we want to add a component. So maybe for box component, uBox component, and just see what all there is. So let's go ahead and copy the include because we're going to need it, and paste it in the .cpp. And we want to create the component. So it's just uBox component. It's going to be a uProperty. Edit anywhere. Class uBox component. And name it box component. Now we're going to do box component equals create default subobject uBox component text box component. Next up, we also want to add a mesh. So same thing, edit anywhere. Actually, let's do it right above it. Class uStatic mesh component. Trigger mesh. Obviously, again, create default subobject of the type uStatic mesh component. Trigger mesh. And we're going to set the root component to equal the trigger mesh. And then for the box component, we do box component, set up attachment, trigger mesh. Then the last thing, we want to include the components static mesh component.h. Great. So now we have to go through and should be able to see maybe the overlap in here. We want to figure out the overlap component, or not the overlap component, the overlap on component begin overlap. Go through. Maybe it's a little bit farther. Would be in one of these. I doubt it's uPrimitive component, but it might be. Oh, there's a lot. So component overlap, begin component overlap. Okay, so let's see. For the time being, let's go ahead and just recompile, and we can actually look at it through Blueprint to get an idea, because I can't remember the parameters off the top of my head. So that's why I'm doing this. So wait trigger, let's go ahead and create the blueprint. BP underscore wait trigger. And for the mesh, we'll add a cube. And shrink that down a good bit. In which case we have to shrink up or crank up the box component. Move it up kind of towards the bottom so it sits like so. Actually make that a decent bit bigger. And make you smaller. So close enough. Anyhow, click on the box component, scroll on down. On component begin overlap. So that takes in the component, so primitive component. So primitive component. Then actor. Primitive component object reference. Int 32. Boolean, obviously. Then the sweep result, which is a F hit result. So let's try to figure this out. So for starters, let's go ahead and add it. So box component on component begin overlap. What was it? Dot a dynamic. The parameters. User object and the function. So a wait trigger and dog is being annoying. Actually, can we see it through here? Actually this works. So go to the signature, we can see it. So overlap component, other actor, bool, and B from sweep. So we can copy all that. Set it up so, was it a U function? I think it had to be void on component begin overlap and paste everything in. Now we have to remove the commas that are between the variable type and the variable names, like so. And then we can create the implementation. So let's paste in on component begin overlap, and there we have it. So we can remove it from our blueprint now, and let's go ahead and just print out a log. Overlapping. So let's give this a try, and hopefully it actually works. Alrighty, drop in the trigger, we're dragging it over here. Hit play, and hopefully we will see it when we enter. So walk in, and it says overlapping. Walk out, walk back in, and overlapping. So that's working. So the only thing we have to do now is kind of do the exact opposite. So copy this, and it is then on component and overlap. And I don't know what the parameters are, but we're going to do the exact same thing. So primitive component. Okay, so everything other than the Boolean. So let's copy this whole thing. Change it to end overlap, and we have everything but the Boolean and the sweep result. So there we go. Create the implementation and change the function. So we have on component begin and end. So now the only thing we have to really do is check it. Well, so stopped overlapping. So as always, let's rerun it, confirm it works, and that'll be it for this video. Okay, run over to it. Overlapping, stopped. Overlapping, stopped. So we know that we're good to go and it's working. Now we can kind of do things and link it to the door. So obviously we'll have to set up a way to link it to the door, but for the time being, that's what we want. So that's going to be all for this video. If you like what I'm doing, you want to support me, you can find a link to my Patreon down in the description below, where I have a Team Deathmatch series for Patrons where we use Unreal Engine with C++ to create Team Deathmatch with a bunch of fun features like weapon customization, custom spawning, and all that fun stuff. Same thing, you get early access to videos such as this one, and if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to join my Discord down below, and I'll try to help you out. So, see you in the next video.